Imagine a time before time, place before any space. Nothing existed except for a single presence. God, the creator of everything. In that vastness, before any light shone or matter took form, there was only darkness and silence, but there was also purpose. God was there, sovereign and solitary, without the need for a universe, stars, or planets, just himself, existing in his own eternity. And then, suddenly, in the midst of the void, God spoke, and with a word that echoed through the abyss, he said, "Let there be light." In that moment, something astonishing happened. Light pierced the unknown, cutting through the darkness, separating it as if it were a curtain, and with it, time began to tick. But time, so familiar to us, was just a newborn before the Creator. To God, time didn't exist as we know it. He always was. There is no before for him. God is beyond the very concept of before. Have you ever thought about that? Before everything, before the first star lit up, before the first atom formed, God was there. He didn't appear, he wasn't created. He is the cause of all causes, the origin of all origins. What we know today as the universe, time, space, all of it came from him, but he isn't bound by these things. For us, beings limited by time, this idea may seem impossible. After all, how can something simply exist without a beginning? And that's where the profound mystery of God's existence challenges us. He transcends time, space, and everything familiar to us. God is the source of all creation, but he himself is beyond creation, outside the laws that govern everything we know. If we look up at the starry sky today, with its distant galaxies and infinite cosmos, remember that all of it began in that moment when God said, "Let there be light." But the most amazing part is that, even before that command was given, he was already there. He is the beginning before any beginning, the creator who exists beyond time. And this reality, this truth that defies our understanding, invites us to reflect on the immense power and eternity of God. This is the story of a God who existed when nothing else did. A God who transcends time, space, and everything we know. But as we reflect on this vastness and power, a troubling question arises. Where did God come from? If everything in the universe has an origin, a beginning, how can we understand the existence of someone who never started? A deep, almost unsettling question. Who created the Creator? For some, this question feels like a logical trap. After all, in our world, everything seems to have a cause, a starting point. Nothing simply is without having first been made. But when we talk about God, the answer escapes us because he doesn't follow the rules of the universe he himself created. By his very nature, God is different from everything we know. He has no beginning. He simply is, trying to fit him into our limited understanding, as if he needed to be created, is like trying to measure the ocean with a cup. It just doesn't work. He is outside the cycle of cause and effect that governs the physical world. God is eternal, self-existent. He didn't need to be created because he is what has always existed. Think of it like an eternal flame, one that was never lit but has always burned. It's the source of all other flames, but it itself never had a beginning. That's the mystery of God. He wasn't made, he didn't come from anywhere. He is the starting point, the beginning of everything. And that, for us, is hard to grasp because we're used to seeing the world as a sequence of events. But God is beyond that. He is the cause that has no cause, the beginning without a start. Philosophers and thinkers throughout the centuries have tried to understand this enigma. Some believe that the human mind will never be able to fully comprehend this idea. Like staring at the sun for too long, we are blinded by its intense light. In the same way, the truth about God's origin is beyond our vision. But maybe, just maybe, we don't need to understand everything. Perhaps God's greatness lies precisely in this mystery, in our inability to fit him into our limited ideas. What we do know is that while the universe around us continues to change, while stars are born and die, God remains. He has always been and will always be, beyond time and beyond our understanding. So yes, we ask, where did God come from? But the answer, if there even is one that we can comprehend, is that God didn't come from anywhere. He always was. And it's this very eternity of God that leads us to another fascinating reality: the interconnection between time, space, and matter. All three, inseparable, appeared together in the moment of creation. In the instant God said, "Let there be light," time began to move, space stretched out, and matter began to take form. But what's extraordinary is that these three dimensions couldn't exist on their own. They need each other to make sense. Imagine, for example, if there were space but no time. Where would things be placed if there's no when for them to exist? Or, think of matter floating in empty space but with no time for any event to happen. Everything would be frozen, trapped in the absence of movement, change, or history. Time, space, and matter are like intertwined threads that, together, weave the fabric of the universe. But before any of that, God already existed. He isn't bound by these dimensions. When we look at the world around us, we see how this trinity, time, space, and matter, governs our existence. Time moves relentlessly, space gives us the stage where all events unfold, and matter forms everything we can see and touch. But God, the Creator, is outside of this fabric. He doesn't need time to exist. He doesn't need space to be. He is greater than any structure we can conceive. And that's one of the most remarkable things about creation. By forming time, space, and matter, God created a system that seems, to us, absolute, unchangeable. But for Him, it's just a part of His work. He is the author of reality, but He Himself isn't shaped by that reality. He transcends it. Think of the vastness of the universe, galaxies expanding farther and farther away, time continuing to push forward without pause. Now, consider that all of this, every passing second, every shining star, was created by a God who isn't confined by any of these things. He fills time and space, but He isn't limited by them. And that's one of the great mysteries of our existence. How a being so immense, so beyond what we can imagine, can be present in everything, in every moment, in every inch of the universe, and, at the same time, be completely outside of it. And this brings us to a profound reflection. If time, space, and matter were created together, what existed before them? The answer is simple but overwhelming: God. He existed before time, before space, before any matter. And yet, He chose to create all of it. He chose to give us the gift of living in time, of occupying space, of interacting with matter. God, in His eternity, looked upon the void, and with a single word, made the impossible become real. And this is exactly the point where we reach the most surprising aspect of God's nature. He is the uncreated Creator. While everything around us, everything we know, had a beginning, the universe, the stars, time, even ourselves, God simply is. He had no point of origin. He wasn't made, nor did He come from something greater. He is the source of everything, but He Himself was never created. For many, this idea might seem impossible to grasp. After all, we live in a world where everything has a cause, where everything comes from something. If we plant a seed, a tree grows. If we ask a question, we expect an answer. But God, He breaks that rule. He wasn't planted, He wasn't generated. He is the beginning of everything without ever having had a beginning. This might lead us to wonder, how can something, or rather someone, simply exist for eternity? Well, that's the essence of what it means to be God. He is beyond the very laws He established for creation. He isn't a being who follows the rules of physics, time, or space. He is the reason those laws exist. He doesn't need a cause because He is the cause. Time doesn't affect Him because He exists beyond time. And the most remarkable part? He is present in everything He created, but He isn't confined by any of it. We can look at the cosmos, at vast galaxies and the intricate structures of atoms, and marvel at the wonders of creation. We can even understand the forces that govern the universe: gravity, light, energy. But all these things are merely results. They exist because something made them exist, and that something is God. He is the beginning that never began, the Creator who doesn't need a creator, an entity that, by definition, is eternal and self-existent. This means He doesn't need an origin. He always was and always will be. And here's the curious thing: Even when we try to apply human logic to this question, trying to imagine who could have created God, we run into the limits of our own understanding. If everything we know had a beginning, how could something exist without one? But it's precisely this mystery that makes God who he is. He is beyond the limits of what we can comprehend, and that doesn't diminish him. On the contrary, it only amplifies his greatness. So, when we look at the universe and ask where it all came from, the answer always points back to him. Not because he came from somewhere, but because he was always there. He is the uncreated creator, the starting point that never needed a beginning. And as time continues to move forward, and the universe expands, God remains unchanged, eternal, the author of creation, yet free from any need to be created. And this, perhaps, is one of the most profound and difficult truths to accept, that the very source of everything had no source, because he is the beginning of all we know, but for him, there was no beginning. He simply is. And so, we arrive at the question that seems inevitable. If God created everything, who created God? It's a question that has fascinated and puzzled minds for centuries. From ancient philosophers to modern scientists, everyone encounters the same dilemma. If every effect has a cause, if every created thing has a creator, then why would God be exempt from this rule? But this is exactly where the beauty and mystery of theology and philosophy lie. God is not like the things he created. He isn't part of this endless cycle of cause and effect. If he were, he wouldn't be God. He would just be another piece of the puzzle of existence, a piece that, in turn, would need something else to explain its origin. But God is different. He isn't trapped in this sequence of questions and answers. He is the final answer. He is the cause without a cause. He is the point where human reasoning runs into something greater, something that defies all attempts at understanding. And yet, this question, who created God, continues to haunt us, because in our finite nature, we are always searching for explanations, for a beginning, for an origin to everything. But consider this: when we ask, who created God? We are applying a rule that only applies to things that begin to exist. Everything that has a beginning needs a cause, that's true. But God, by definition, has no beginning. He always was. Therefore, this question, intriguing as it may be, simply doesn't apply to him. God wasn't created because he is the creator of everything. He is beyond the need to be made. When we look at the universe, at every detail, from the smallest atom to the vast galaxies, we can see a chain of causes and effects. But at some point, this chain must start with something that wasn't caused. Something that simply is. It's like a book that someone is reading. Every word leads to the next. Every chapter unfolds into another. But who wrote that book? Who decided what would happen on its pages? The author. The author isn't inside the story, following its rules. He is outside, creating it. And so it is with God. He is the author of creation, but he himself isn't bound by the rules he made for the world. We can keep asking, keep seeking answers, keep trying to fit God into our limitations of cause and effect. But we'll always return to the same point. God doesn't have a cause. He is self-existent. He is the beginning that never needed to be started. He is the creator who wasn't created. And this truth, as unsettling as it may be for our minds, is what makes God, God. He doesn't follow our rules. He transcends them. He is the beginning of all reality, but he himself is reality without a beginning. And that's why, as our questions continue, the answer always leads back to him, the uncreated creator, the beginning without a starting point. And as we continue trying to understand this unfathomable mystery, a new idea emerges, one that connects both science and faith: the Big Bang and the creation of the universe. Just over a century ago, scientists began uncovering one of the greatest secrets of the cosmos, the beginning of the universe as we know it. The Big Bang theory suggests that everything we see today, all matter, energy, stars, and galaxies, had a starting point billions of years ago, in a singular cosmic expansion event. The universe, which was once a singularity, suddenly burst into motion, growing, expanding, and giving rise to everything we know. But even this idea, which explains so much about the physical world, takes us back to the oldest question of all: what existed before that? If the Big Bang was the moment the universe was born, what was before it? Where did the energy, matter, space, and time that began to expand come from? For scientists, this is a question that challenges the very nature of scientific understanding. Because the Big Bang wasn't just the beginning of matter, it was the beginning of time itself. Before simply didn't exist, just as here or there didn't exist. Everything started at that point. But for faith, for those who believe in a creator, the answer isn't as confusing. God, the eternal being who transcends time, existed before time itself. He is the first cause, the initial spark behind the Big Bang, the author who lit the flame of creation. You see, science and faith aren't in conflict here. Where science gives us the tools to understand how the universe expanded, how stars formed, how life began, faith offers us the answer to why. Why did something come from nothing? Because God willed it to be so. He, who is not limited by time or space, chose to create it all. The Big Bang, that explosion of energy and matter, was the work of his hands. And as we come to understand that the universe, with all its vastness, had a beginning, we start to realize something profound. Everything we see is in motion. The universe continues expanding. Stars keep burning. Matter transforms, but none of it is eternal. Science itself tells us that one day, the stars will burn out, energy will dissipate, and the cosmos, as we know it, will cease to exist. But God, he remains. While the universe races toward its end, the Creator is beyond all of it. He didn't just start the universe, he sustains it. He is present in every atom that moves, in every galaxy that expands. And when everything we know reaches its end, he will still be there, as he has always been, from before time. And this is one of the most powerful truths we can reflect on. The Big Bang was a grand event, an explosion of creation. But behind that explosion was a divine mind, purpose. God, the Eternal One, didn't need a cause, but he gave rise to all causes. He gave the first push to the cosmos, but unlike anything he created, he will not be erased by time or the decay of the universe. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The eternal Creator who not only made the universe exist but continues to keep it in motion while he himself remains unchanged, outside of time, and beyond all creation. And this leads us to an inevitable conclusion, the second law of thermodynamics. According to this law, in the physical world, energy always degrades over time. Stars burn their fuel, planets cool down, and the universe, as we know it, is constantly losing order and moving toward a final state of entropy, of total disorder. What does this mean? It means that the universe, this magnificent creation, is slowly heading toward an end. But this idea, though it may seem bleak, leads us to an even deeper revelation. If everything physical is decaying, then what exists eternally must be fundamentally different. Something that doesn't wear out, that doesn't lose energy, that doesn't obey these laws of the physical world. And this brings us once again back to God. While the physical universe wears down and rushes toward its end, God is unchanging. He is the source of all energy, but he isn't subject to the laws that govern the energy we know. He doesn't diminish, he doesn't tire, he doesn't wear out. And it's precisely this distinction between the Creator and his creation that reveals something extraordinary to us. Everything we know, everything we can measure and see, is temporary. But God, the one who is beyond time, remains forever. This is the most incredible mystery of creation. Though everything around us is constantly changing, aging, wearing down, eventually dying, there is something, or rather someone, who remains eternal and unchanging. God is that eternal force, not limited by the laws he himself created. He doesn't follow the path of the universe's decay because he isn't part of the universe. He is beyond its limitations. Now think about this. While we, finite beings, look up at the stars and see their light growing dimmer over time, God, who created them, remains as strong and constant as ever. He doesn't change, he doesn't grow weaker. Even when the entire universe reaches its final state of entropy, when there is no more heat, no more light, no more movement, God will still be the same. And more than that, This constancy of God gives us something deeply comforting. The universe may be wearing down, it may be moving toward its physical end, but God remains a firm anchor in the midst of it all. He didn't just create everything. He is the certainty amidst uncertainty, the stability in the midst of decay. That's why, when we look to the distant future of the universe, a future where everything may seem lost, we can remember that God existed before everything, and He will continue to exist after everything. What is physical, like time, space, and matter, may disappear, but God, the one who transcends these dimensions, will never cease to be. And this truth, this immutability, is what gives us hope. Because even when everything around us seems to be fading away, God remains unchanged, unchanging, sustaining not just the universe, but us as well. And it's at this very point that we reach the concept of the trinity of time, space, and matter, an inseparable union that was created at the exact moment when God said, "Let there be light." These three dimensions, which seem so natural and obvious to us, are, in fact, a masterpiece of divine creation. They exist together, each depending on the others to make sense. Think about time. It doesn't make sense without space, because time needs a place where events can occur. And space? It doesn't make sense without matter, because empty space with nothing in it would be an abstract concept. And matter? Well, it can only exist in space and over time. This interdependence is a perfect harmony, created by God in the instant of creation. Like a cosmic symphony, time, space, and matter emerge together, inseparable but distinct. Now look at the vastness of the universe, each star, each planet, each galaxy floating through space. All of this, every event that has ever happened, every form that has ever existed, can only be understood because they exist within this continuum of time, space, and matter. If any one of these elements were missing, nothing would make sense. How could there be events without time, or places without space, or forms without matter? And here's the most fascinating part. This trinity, this interconnection, reflects something deeper about the Creator Himself. Just as time, space, and matter exist in perfect harmony, so too does God exist in a transcendent way, beyond these limitations, yet present in everything He created. He crafted this trinity of the universe, and yet He transcends it completely. It's as if God wove the very fabric of reality, uniting these three inseparable elements, yet He remains outside the weave, observing and sustaining it all. For Him, time doesn't pass the way it does for us. Space doesn't confine Him, and matter doesn't limit Him. He is the author of this scenario, but He was never, and will never be, imprisoned by it. And here's something even more surprising. This trinity of time, space, and matter isn't just a physical structure. It's also spiritual. In creating this unity, God gave us a reflection of His own nature. Just as time cannot exist without space and matter, God too is a trinity. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, each distinct, yet inseparable. The physical creation mirrors the spiritual Creator. And so, in every passing second, in every shining star, we see a reflection of divine harmony. We, as beings who inhabit this creation, are part of this cosmic trinity. We live in time, move through space, and exist in matter. But God, the Creator, is beyond all of that. He gave us time so that we could grow, space so that we could move, and matter so that we could interact. But He Himself is outside of those limitations, watching everything with the perspective of one who knew the end before the beginning ever came to be. And when we ask how something as grand as time, space, and matter could come into existence in perfect harmony, the answer is simple. The Creator united them. God, in His infinite wisdom and power, brought them into existence in a way that defies any human explanation. He not only created this trinity, but He continuously sustains it, and, in every moment we live, it reminds us of His eternal presence, the one who is beyond everything we can see or touch. So, as we look at time, at the space around us, and at the matter that forms the physical world, we can see more than just dimensions. We can see a reflection of the Creator, who, though transcendent, is present in everything, holding every piece of existence together with His divine hand. And as we contemplate this magnificent trinity of time, space, and matter, we realize something even deeper. The creation around us is a reflection of the Creator. Every detail of the universe, no matter how small, bears the mark of the divine. From the intricate patterns on the leaves of a tree to the incomprehensible vastness of galaxies, everything speaks of God's greatness and care. Look around you. The stars, scattered across the night sky like tiny points of light, have been shining quietly for thousands of years, governed by forces that physicists can describe, but whose ultimate origin goes back to the moment when God commanded, "Let there be light." They are the first witnesses of His creation, a constant reminder that, no matter how vast and incomprehensible the universe may seem, it was made with purpose. And it's not just the stars. Every element of nature, from the grandest to the smallest, reveals a Creator who not only has the power to bring everything into existence, but also cares about the details. The intricate design of a single leaf, with its perfectly organized veins transporting nutrients, reflects the meticulous care of God. The cycle of the seasons, with the unchanging regularity of spring, summer, fall, and winter, is a testimony to the order He imposed on chaos. This brings us to a crucial point. God is not just a distant creator, the one who set the universe in motion and then stepped away. He is present in every aspect of creation. He sustains it continuously, and every small detail speaks of His constant presence. Like an artist signing their work, God has left His mark on everything. And when we look at nature closely, we can see the divine signature in every part of the world. There is balance, a harmony in all things that can't be explained by science alone. Sure, science can describe how systems work, how forces interact, how cells divide and grow. But why these things work so perfectly, why there is so much beauty, that's the mystery that leads us back to the Creator. Even in the simplest things, the way a flower opens to the sun, or how the ocean waves follow a steady rhythm, we can sense God's presence. He isn't just in the grand, the incomprehensible, the vast cosmos. He's in the details. He's in the simplicity. The very act of breathing, something we do without thinking, is a continuous gift from the Creator, a reminder that our existence is tied to His will. And it's not only in nature that we see this. In our daily lives, in moments of joy and even in moments of sorrow, there is a pattern, a harmony that may seem invisible at first glance but, over time, reveals itself. God is in the small miracles, in the coincidences we call luck, in the unexpected encounters that change the course of a life. He is in everything. When we look at the universe, we might feel small, insignificant, in the face of such immensity. But it's precisely this vastness that reminds us how great God's love and care truly are. He didn't just create everything. He cares about every detail, about each one of us. Every breath, every heartbeat is sustained by Him. And that's why, as we contemplate creation, we are invited to recognize the hand of the Creator in all things, both great and small. Everything in the universe, from the most distant stars to the leaf closest to us, sings praises to God. And we, as part of this creation, are called to do the same, to reflect on the love and wisdom that permeate everything around us. Because in every detail we observe, in every part of nature we admire, we are reminded that the Creator is with us, in all things, sustaining and guiding the universe with unparalleled precision and care. As we contemplate the grandeur of God reflected in every aspect of creation, we are led to something even deeper, the connection between us and the Creator, and the journey of faith He invites us to take. While the vast, incomprehensible universe bears witness to His presence, there is a call that echoes within us, in our hearts, inviting us into a more intimate and profound relationship with Him. You see, God didn't create just a cold, mechanical universe where the laws of physics and chemistry govern everything impersonally. No, He created a cosmos where every detail, every beat of our hearts, every breath in nature, is intertwined with His will, His love, and His constant presence. And more than that, He gave us the ability to recognize Him, to seek a deeper connection with Him. This leads us to understand that we are not mere observers of creation, but active participants in a greater plan. God invites us to look beyond the physical world, beyond the stars and space, and to see the work He is doing within us. The journey of faith is not just about admiring the cosmos and marveling at the complexities of the universe, but about allowing that understanding to change something within us. Every star that shines, every breathtaking sunset, is a reminder that we are called to reconnect with the Creator, not just as observers of His wonders, but as children who can walk by His side. And it's this reconnection that transforms everything. When we understand that the God who created galaxies and shaped time and space is the same God who desires to be close to us, something inside us awakens. The vastness of the universe shrinks, and the Creator, who once seemed so distant and unattainable, becomes near, present in every aspect of our lives. He calls us to know Him more deeply, to let His light guide our steps and illuminate our hearts. This journey of faith is, in truth, a journey of personal discovery. As we seek to understand the vastness of God in creation, we also begin to perceive His intimate presence in our daily lives. The same God who designed the stars is the one who sustains every moment of our existence, who cares about our pain, our dreams, our struggles. And He invites us to live with gratitude and reverence, knowing that everything around us, and everything within us, is part of a divine plan. But this journey isn't just for us. God also calls us to share this discovery with others. As we experience this deep connection, we are encouraged to bring light and hope to those around us, so they too may feel the Creator's presence in their own lives. In a way, we become bearers of light, called to reflect God's glory in the world, like the stars shining in the sky. And this leads us to an essential point. As we continue on this journey of faith, our understanding of the Creator and the cosmos deepens. We realize that God not only created us, but He sustains us, guides us, and upholds us at every step. He is the author of our lives, the orchestrator of our existence. And though we may not understand all His ways, we can trust that He walks beside us, calling us to a journey of growth, transformation, and discovery. As we walk this journey, we are faced with a choice. We can choose to live with a new perspective, where every moment is a gift, where every breath is a blessing. We can choose to see the world and the people around us with new eyes, knowing that we are part of something much greater, something that transcends time and space. This is the essence of our faith, to live with awe and gratitude, knowing that, despite our limitations, we are loved by a God who is eternal and unchanging, a God who not only created the universe but also sustains us at every moment, guiding us, protecting us, and calling us to reflect His light in everything we do. And so, we move forward with open hearts and awakened souls, ready to share this journey with others. In everything we do, may we always reflect the glory and magnificence of the Creator, living as children of God, part of an eternal and perfect plan.